I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. Kareem is back, baby. Kareem Jackson back on the squad. He's back. The Texans have claimed Kareem Jackson off waivers from the Denver Broncos, and he is now a member once again of your Houston Texans. Kareem Jackson, great to have him back on this breaking news edition of Texans Today. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and let's get right into the news of the day, which is the Texans claiming Kareem Jackson. He spent his first 9 seasons with the Houston Texans after they drafted him in the first round of the 2010 NFL Draft. He spent the last 4 years with the Denver Broncos and just completed a 4-game suspension served and a 2-game suspension that he had earlier in the year, so a total of 6 games suspended this year for illegal hits deemed by the NFL. You know, some people call them dirty, some head-to-head contact. I know there's, already people out there that don't like Kareem Jackson, don't like his play style, but all I got to say is, the guy who the Texans drafted, they took a chance on the kid out of Alabama, had a first couple years that were a little bit bumpy, but really turned into a solid player for the Texans, especially on some of those playoff runs. He was on the teams with J.J. Watt. He was on the teams with DeMeco Ryans and Brian Cushing, the Bulls on parade. He was on those teams. He remembers Texans greatness. So I'm really glad, for one, to have Kareem Jackson back. And hey, this is why you subscribe to the channel. When news happens, we break it down. We've got you covered 24/7, 365. We are your one-stop shop for Texans news and rumors. So go down and hit that sub button if you haven't already. We're really close to 8,000 subscribers. If you haven't subbed, go hit the sub button or go to youtube.com/TexansTV. Completely free. And hey, if you don't like the channel after a week, go ahead and unsubscribe, but it's free. What do you have to lose? Go down and hit that sub button and join Texans Today. Now, as we look at his last 4 years in the NFL with the Denver Broncos, not bad stats. He started as a corner with the Texans, moved to kind of this hybrid role of safety nickel, and has kind of found his really niche in the NFL in that, especially in dime and nickel packages. Kareem Jackson really flourishes. We see, even though he's only played 8 games this year, 3 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, he's still got it. As we look at, what he's done over the past 4 years, and even this season, 51 tackles. He's a physical defensive back. He's not afraid to go down and make the tackle, and he's good in coverage. So I think it's an all-around win for the Houston Texans, but this is Chat Sports. It's not Jeremy Sports, so I want to hear from you folks. Let me know. Grade the pickup of Kareem Jackson, A, B, C, D, or F. After this YouTube ad break, I'll give you my answer, and then I'll tell you a little bit about our sponsor of today's show. But for right now, I want to hear from you at home. Right now, get your red pen out and let me know. How do you grade the move? A, B, C, D, or F? I'm giving this move a solid B, if you're asking me. The Texans, they desperately need safety depth. They have a ton of guys who have gone to IR this year alone. Jimmie Ward has been on and off the injury report. Jalen Petrie, he got benched this past week up against the Cleveland Browns and has had a up and down season, a roller coaster year himself. And DeAndre Houston Carson, as he's a good player, but is he really an impact guy? Is he going to be somebody who you really feel 100% starting and playing 100% of defensive snaps? I don't know. He's a good rotational guy. He's made some big plays for the Houston Texans, but I think the addition of Kareem Jackson, especially for a team that all these moves that we've seen from Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans, this should tell all of you as Texans fans that they are in it to win it this season. F a rebuild. F a rebuild. We're going for the playoffs this season. And the Texans, they control their own destiny. I'm going to be breaking that down later on this week, but if the Texans win these next 2 games, they're playoff bound, baby. And I'm going to be breaking down more about Kareem Jackson in just a moment. But first, a word from our sponsor, Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. It's as easy as this, folks. You choose 2 or more players from any sport. You could do football, basketball, hockey. They have MMA with the UFC, any sport you want, and then all you do, you choose more or less on their projected stats, and then place your entry. Here's my entry for Thursday Night Football, and don't hate me, but I have Joe Flacco, Amari Cooper, more on their projected stats of pass yards and receiving yards. I mean, hey, a bargain. Joe Flacco's been balling. He's been going over 300 yards this past couple weeks. 226. Give me the more. Amari Cooper. He's on a tear. He burned the Texans for 265 yards, and they have him at 55.5. I think that's a steal. In my opinion, I would say that's a steal, even though they're going up against a good defense in the New York Jets. Give me Garrett Wilson more on receiving yards as well, and Greg Zuerlein. Give me more than 1.5 field goals made. So if you just go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100, PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Now, as we look at Kareem Jackson this season, according to PFF, he's a pretty decent, player for the Denver Broncos. Overall, a 67.5 grade, which I know you're like, oh, that's not very good. PFF, they're tough graders. A 67.5, I would say that's an average player in the NFL. Run D of 49.6, pass rush 62.8, and a coverage grade of 76.1. So even in his old age, even though he's on the wrong side of 30, Kareem Jackson still has gas left in the tank, and he can still give the Texans something this season. And with guys, like I said, Jimmie Ward, he's very questionable for the rest of this year. He's been on and off the injured list. Jalen Petrie, he's been struggling. There's already 3 guys the Texans have on IR. So with all those injuries piling up, this is a much-needed move going into the Titans and Colts game in the next 2 weeks. And, hey, I just want to welcome him back. He played admirably. He was really good his first 9 years with the Houston Texans. And for that, I thank you. He gave me so many great memories with those Texans teams, making the playoffs and having great seasons in the mid-2010s. So, everybody, welcome him back. Welcome back, Texans legend, Kareem Jackson. Everybody type KJ down in the comment section if you could for me right now. Now, Kareem Jackson, like I said, he is going to add something to this Texans depth chart, which I actually moved over, Coop, if we want to go to it in just a second. And I really think, like I said earlier in the video, him being deployed as somewhat of a safety nickel roll hybrid, I think that gives you something, especially with guys like Jalen Petrie, like I said, not doing too well this year. Jimmie Ward injured. MJ Stewart, Eric Murray, Braylon Arnold, all on IR. DeAndre Houston, Carson, Kareem Jackson, and Adrian Amos. They could be guys that you kind of shuffle in there on nickel and dime packages, especially against the Colts coming up, which is a huge game for the Houston Texans. Colts sitting right there, right above the Houston Texans. That Week 18 matchup might be for a playoff spot, folks. So a huge addition by Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans as we head into the home stretch of the 2023 NFL season. Thank you once again, everybody who joined in, clicked into today's video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like today's video if you want more Texans news and rumors videos. I've been your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and Texans fans, everybody, welcome back, KJ.